If I could have your attention, we'll call the meeting to order. Now, Don's put us way, way back here. I can barely see him in the back there. But, so I guess the point is, I appreciate your cooperation tonight. I will try to speak so that you can hear me in the back. And as when someone speaks during the public hearing and such, when we get to that portion of the meeting, do please try to speak up so old guys like me that have run equipment for so many years and doesn't hear worth a darn can make out what you're saying. So I'd like to call the meeting of the White Pigeon Township Planning Commission to order. Secretarial note, all members present. Our first order of business is to consider the minutes of our January 2nd, 2023 meeting. Are there any questions on the minutes or action?
I move that we accept them.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Susie supports
Okay.
to accept the minutes as presented. Any other questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carried. The main reason we're here tonight is for a public hearing on a special use permit by Stan Yoder and Scott Kemp for the property at 17136 Maiden Lane. That property is currently zoned M1 medium residential, is that what it's called, Lance? R1.
It would be R.
Correct.
R1. So it's in an R1 district, and they are asking for a special use permit to construct a building and conduct RV repairs at that location. The rules for the public hearing, everyone, we're using the township's standard 3-minute speaking limit, so keep your points concise so everybody gets a chance to give their opinion to the board. We appreciate all your opinions and thank you for being here tonight so we know what everyone's thinking. I will first ask the applicants to explain their project and in detail. And then we'll take comments from the general public. I'd ask that all your comments be directed to the board. Especially in a room this size, we can't get into talking back and forth in the crowd. So all comments are directed to the board. And you have your 3 minutes. So with that, we'll open the public hearing. And is Stan or Scott here?
I'm Stan Mueller.
Okay, Stan, floor is yours, 3 minutes.
I'm proposing to put a building in on Main Lane, for RV repair. I currently work out of a building 4 miles east of LaGrange. I live in White Pigeon. My lease is running out on the building I'm in. I don't own it, so I have to do something. So we bought this land, Scott and I bought this land from Ron Logan, and we wanna put a building on there and work out of it.
Okay, and I guess anything else that,
Well, I've heard, I mean, I don't know, if I should wait to hear people's concerns, you know, about traffic coming and going. It's just me and my son. We don't have a lot of, customers. You know, the concerns about lots of traffic coming and going, very little, small business, but, we can, here, I've heard that people are concerned about that, rightfully so. I understand, I've worked in the RV industry for 20 years before I went out on my own, and, I'm well aware of their concerns. I understand. So,
okay,
I guess I'll let everybody voice their concerns.
all right, is Scott here?
Scott's not here.
Scott's not here? Okay, thank you. You've heard the applicant, now we will open the comments for anyone in the general public. Again, 3 minutes, so.
Okay,
Ann?
may I ask a question first, before I have comments?
Your question is?
did the petitioner, did they turn into the board here a detailed site plan for the new special non-conforming use? And have
Yes,
you reviewed that?
yes, we have a plan for where they're putting their building, yes.
How detailed is that?
Square feet, it's just a size square foot.
Are they going to continue the excavating business?
Their special use permit is for RV repair.
Only?
That's what we're hearing tonight, yes. We're not talking about any other uses of the property tonight.
Oh, okay,
They are asking for one thing.
okay. Then,
Is that your,
no, that's just,
'cause I-
that's just basic questions.
I'm interested in your comments, I'm not interested in getting into a back and forth with questioning
No,
because
well, in order for us to make an
Yeah.
informed opinion, we needed to have that kind of information.
Okay,
Okay, so, okay, well, with that on mind, I do have some comments then. Okay, so that property is zoned residential currently, with a special use currently for Logan's excavation, correct?
it is a non-conforming
Non-conforming.
grandfathered use.
Grandfathered use, correct,
Yes.
okay. So, that's an interesting way of, okay, sorry, I just gotta get my thoughts together then, because I was going a different direction first.
What would you like to think and let somebody, I will
Well-
let you, normally you get one shot
I
at this,
know,
so-
but there's not enough information. That was the problem, why there's so many of us here today. Okay, so let somebody else, and let me go back to that. If somebody else has something else to say first.
I'll go, my name's Dave Young, I have a lot on the south side of Lake Wallamini, and I don't agree with, changing the rules or allowing this. I think it ought to just stay residential. It's a beautiful lake, and, I just don't think it's appropriate to have a business in there.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
Okay, what is stopping any other business from coming into the area? Like somebody else buying more property back there and then putting another business in? Because if you allow this business, what's gonna stop you from the next person asking to put a business in that residential area?
Okay. Sir?
So we just live east of the proposed, site. When we moved to White Pigeon 10 years ago, we didn't even know that was back there. Had no idea. We've built a house back there. It's awesome. Our kids ride their bikes. Everybody walks their dogs. I just think that's something we don't want back there. It's zoned residential for a reason. I think it should remain that way.
Okay, thank you.
I understand the grandfather clause, because when they were digging this, and before the project was completed, to build houses and everything, I understand Ronnie and Ike having their businesses, right? So, now I don't understand why they wanna go here. Stan's got all kinds of land, he can put it by his house, but he doesn't want to. And I'm kinda curious why he doesn't want to there, why he wants to put out here by us. I consider this, kinda like the cul-de-sac subdivision back here, the way it is. And, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I heard that somebody wanted to put a bed and breakfast, wanted to buy Pleasure's House, put a bed and breakfast in, and they were shot down. I'd rather have a bed and breakfast than an RV industry, or RV repair plant.
Okay.
And I don't,
No, you're all right. You haven't used your 3 minutes yet. Go ahead.
and all the traffic coming, when we first moved out here, there was very light traffic. When they redid the road and rerouted people through here, instead of going around the other way, people figured out that shortcut, and there's people that fly through there all the time now.
That is true.
And the more people, and then you let this back here, it's gonna bring down value on top of it. He has what, 24 acres or something? I don't understand.
Okay, thank you. Someone else?
Okay,
Got your thoughts together?
well, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
But here's, the bottom line Leslie York, okay?
Yep.
The bottom line statement is, to me, it's more of a concern for setting up a precedent for opening up more or different business uses in a residential community. The purpose of zoning is to establish and control the acceptable land uses in an area. For example, residential versus commercial in this case. Grandfathering an existing use such as Logan's Excavating, which allowed for people to have an existing use, to not force them out at that time. But expanding the property business usage beyond its current use, which is excavating, and that's what it was allowed to be grandfathered for, to an on-site repair business will further grandfather another non-conforming use. This is counter to the purpose of zoning, which is to bring into conformance the zoned land use, in this case residential, over time. Michigan courts have recognized that the ultimate goal is to eliminate these uses and have all uses conform to the current zoning ordinance regulations. Commonly, the use continues with their lawful non-conforming status until a landowner stops or abandons such use. Zoning ordinances can define when this event occurs, such as determining that abandonment or discontinuation of the use that was grandfathered after not using the property for 6 months. That's an example. Further limitations exist with respect to the nature of continuing the non-conforming use. In particular, Michigan law prohibits the extension or enlargement of non-conforming uses, and the courts have concluded that zoning regulations should be strictly construed with respect to expansion. Similarly, the law emphasizes that the continuation of a non-conforming use must be substantially of the same size and the same essential nature as the use at the time of passage of a valid zoning ordinance. As a result, a non-conforming use needs to be closely examined to ensure that it is continued in a consistent manner and form without expansion or increase in the non-conformity. Now, what you're telling me is, I was under the impression that Logan, the excavating was going to continue, but they also wanted to add the RV, the building to house and do RV repair in it. If you're not going to continue the excavation, I think you can't approve it for a different non-conforming use without substantial reason as to why that's acceptable. Because additionally, standards for making the determinations in your own zoning regulations that are published, and we can get copies of those, which we have, it should be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or with any specific objectives of the township master plan. I'm
Wrap
just
it up.
saying. Okay, well,
I'm giving you 15 seconds to make a conclusion here.
The bottom line is, we don't think that fits into the community. It's a residential, it should be morphed into residential once the original non-conforming use is no longer in use.
Okay.
Okay? And that's by your own regulations.
Okay, thank you. Someone else? Ma'am?
As that property stands now, that's basically storage, correct? I mean, he's not making any money at that particular Logan. That was just where he housed his equipment. Obviously, he's not sitting there excavating every day.
Well, he does off-site excavating.
Right.
We're not here to answer questions about
No,
what's
okay,
theirs
well,
now.
what
I mean,
I'm
we don't
saying
know.
is that was basically
That's
for
immaterial
storage.
to what
Well,
we're
it
talking
is and it
about.
isn't. That was for storage. This will be an active business where they're actually making money at that address. And it is different.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else? Ma'am?
Anita Cassida. I have just a question as to what type of RV repair is going to be performed there. How large is the building? Because I talked to Don Gloy a week and a half ago, and he said all he knew was an RV repair and there would be a building. So how big? What type of services?
Okay. Any other comments?
Well,
We'll start here, then we'll go there, and then we'll go to the back.
You know, you guys all have a very important job in what you do. We appreciate everything that, you all do and taking on this role to serve the community like you do. It is an important job and we trust that, you're gonna use the right judgment based on the law and what it says. I think if you look at what the law says and what is being attempted to do here, it doesn't comply with the requirements that's in our rules and in our, and we have the zoning so that, so that we can control what goes on in our communities we have one individual that, approached us the other day. He couldn't make it tonight, but he indicated to us that he's considering moving here on the lake. He's got a lot that he's picked out and is, in negotiations right now, looking at possibly buying this property, but he said if they're putting in something like this, he's not sure that he wants to move here, so I think it's counter, I don't think I've talked to anybody on the lake that has indicated that they're supportive of this,
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse
Now, the
me,
lady in the pink
excuse
jacket
me.
back, she was first.
I know, but
The
you didn't
lady-
answer
and
my.
you've already spoken.
No,
so
I
we're-
asked a question though.
All right, well, we're not answering questions right now, this is public comment. Lady in the back, please.
I just had a couple of questions that this pertains
Yep.
to this. How many RVs would be parked outside of your business? What are your hours of operation? What about traffic shortcutting down Tomahawk Trail? I don't know if you can answer
Want me to
that.
answer?
No, I would not, thank you, because we didn't want to get into the crosstalk. This board can set conditions if we decide that this is an appropriate use, which would include traffic patterns, time of, all those can be controlled. If that's the route we go. We're not to that deciding point yet, but so your questions will be answered as we move along here tonight. Next, ma'am?
Okay, I live, my name's Val Jurgens, I live on the Fawn River, side of the road, but I still feel like it's my neighborhood, overall, and I actually, drive over and park on Tomahawk, so that I can take a walk with my dog, cause it's safer than Fawn River, and, I'm not anti-business, anti-local business, we need business. It's just, I feel like it's encroaching in on a little neighborhood that's beautiful. That's my comment.
Okay. John?
I live at the corner of Maiden Lane and API Gravel, so I'm right across the road from where this will be, and I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Ronnie's been a good neighbor, I think the new people will be a good neighbor, and I don't see a problem at all, as long as there's restrictions about how they're gonna come in, hours of operation. I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you, John. Someone else? Travis?
I actually neighbor that lot. The east side of my property is actually gonna be the west side of the proposed lot. I guess I don't really care. The only thing I don't wanna see is pallet racking hanging, trash, debris. That, it would be a complete nuisance. Whether if they put up a 6-foot fence, 8-foot fence, that's up to you guys. Even if you put a line of pine trees down, as long as I don't see it, I don't care. As far as the traffic goes, yes, it could be a nuisance, but it is a public road. I mean, I'm also to the point where everybody parks down my line of traffic anyway, down in front of my property. All the lawn mowing people, all the fertilizing people, they like to park their trucks and trailers on my property because they don't wanna destroy the grass on the lakeside, which, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care, it's a public road right away, they can park there if they want to. I mean, I don't have a problem with it as long as it's cleaned up, that's all I care. If it's a 4-bay building, store 4 campers out back, no more. That way they have a staging area, call it good. So hopefully you guys can precedence
And
that.
again,
or-
those are all things that we will
Correct.
consider
Yep.
as we move forward.
I have a question for you.
Thinking
Yep.
about the
On this-
noise.
Can I come up there?
Yeah, would you show me where
I'm over here.
you're over here?
So I've got 4.5 acres from this point all the way to the west. So where the railroad tracks come
Okay,
down
gotcha.
to Tomahawk Trail,
Okay.
I wedge that whole area.
Thank you.
Yep.
Someone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Greg Miller. I live on the opposite side of the lake, down from Val. I used to live right across the street from Ron. Ron was always a good neighbor. Known Stan for a while too. I do love the area. Lived on the lake now for 5 years. Thanks to some friends that invited us over one time. We enjoyed it, and it's a great area to walk around, walk your dog, walk with friends, walk with family. I do feel the traffic would increase, and I do feel it would drop the property value.
Okay, thank you. Someone else that hasn't spoken? Mickey? You good? He's calling you out. Anyone else? All right, if there's no one else that wishes to comment at the public hearing, I will close it. Gone.
We should do that by motion.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Close the public comment portion of the public.
Yeah, you're gonna close your whole meeting.
So moved.
And
I'll second.
Susan supported.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion to close the public comment period. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. At this point, the special use permit will go under consideration and discussion by the planning commission. Lance, we ask you to review the ordinance. Could you please, do you have some comments on how this fits within the, because this is one of the few we have in an R1 district, and so if you could comment on if there's any differences with that than what we would hear from another zoning district.
Sure, and I can do that. You want to ask the questions of Mr. Yoder first that were raised, or you want me to go first? Because I could ask those quick and cover those quickly.
Yeah, cause like the building size and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah, we can do that first.
Okay. My understanding, Mr. Yoder, is the proposed size of the building was 70 feet by 80 feet. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. So that answers how big the building, what all type of services, RV repair type services do you do? Or would you be doing there at that location?
Well, I do roof replacements, I do structural repair, I do mobile repair too. Today I went to a campground, so a lot of my work is off-site, I guess similar to what you were saying, excavating business was. I do mobile repair, but as far as on location, yeah, I do a lot of mostly structural repair on RVs.
Would it be inside the building or outside the building?
Inside the building.
Or both?
Sometimes when the weather permits, I have worked on the outside of the building. I'm not saying I don't, but for the most part, I work on the inside.
What would be your days of operation during the week?
I usually work 5 days a week.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
And what would be the hours of operation during those days?
Usually 7 or 8 till 4, something like that.
How many RVs on site would you have?
I currently have 3 at my shop now, and that's about average. I have had as many as probably 6, but that's about between 3 and 6 usually.
Would there be any type of outdoor storage of units or, repair materials or any discarded materials?
Not planning on it, I don't do any of that. Only thing I store once in a while, somebody doesn't pick up their camper right away. I allow that.
That's all the questions
All right,
I've noted.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, from a legal perspective, in my review of your ordinance provisions for the R1 medium density residential district, which starts on, starts with section 34-221. The first thing we need to do to take a look, and which really was probably done by staff of the township, was to look under section 34-222 and see if Mr. Yoder's proposed use of the property would fall under what's called a permitted use, where he wouldn't have to come here to ask for a special land use permit. It would just be permitted under the existing ordinance. And my review of that indicates that Mr. Yoder's proposed use would not fit under a permitted use. And Mr. Yoder, like I said, that was probably discussed and determined early on, which is why he applied for then a special land use permit under section 34-223 of the ordinance. And I'll just kind of run through those, because everybody here probably hasn't looked at the ordinance. The following uses are permitted in the R1 medium district residential district, subject to obtaining a special land use permit as provided for in Article 5 of this chapter. The first one is structures containing 3 or more living units on a parcel having at least 24,000 square feet unless otherwise specified. Number 2, community buildings associated with a multifamily housing development or development containing multiple detached dwellings. Number 3, planned unit or planned residential development, including cluster/open space development, subject to conditions set forth in section 34-654. Number 4, site condominiums, including cluster/open space development. Number 5, central sewage treatment facility. Number 6, public and private parks, clubs, camps, and golf courses. Number 7, public and private hospitals, schools, churches, and governmental buildings. And the last one is number 8, public utility structures and substations. My understanding from what I've heard here tonight and my legal opinion on whether Mr. Yoder's proposed use would fall within any of those 8 allowed special land uses, if this board, actually the township board, would ultimately determine that a special land use permit should be granted. My opinion is Mr. Yoder's proposed use does not fit within any of those proposed special land uses that are allowed there in that district. So where does that leave us from again, my opinion from a legal standpoint is that, and sometimes you can, if something's real close to a use, because you're not always, you can't name everything, but if it's close to one of the uses that are listed as a special land use, and it's very similar, we can sometimes rely on that to, as authority to grant a special land use. Again, it's my legal opinion that Mr. Yoder's proposed use doesn't fit that category. So to me, it just doesn't, the proposed use isn't listed as a special land use permit and isn't similar enough to one of the existing listed special land use permits that I would feel comfortable saying we're authorized under the ordinance to grant such a permit. It's just, something that, may need to go in a different district, such as the commercial district.
And that was gonna be my question is, cause sometimes, because you just can't list every potential use, somebody's always
That's
thinking
correct.
of something new. But some of our districts have kind of a catch-all,
Sure,
you know, things associated with, and this district does not do that.
correct.
So we are limited to these 8 uses.
And I would say that was by design, because
Yeah,
of the
because of-
medium density.
Because of this particular, which is different than what we do with a request like an ag or something that has more of those catch-all uses that you can apply for a special use permit.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding this correctly, because I read through this earlier and was like trying to figure how it fit.
Mhm. And then obviously, and Mr. Yoder is not requesting this at this time, but, you know, landowners can request a zoning change too. But this is, you know, again, my opinion would be that'd be pretty difficult in this area with the surrounding
Yeah.
area and everything. I don't wanna lead Mr. Yoder down the wrong direction. You're welcome, and you actually should be being advised by your own counsel if you wish to do so, but, it's certainly an option to request a zoning request. I just don't see that as probably getting you anywhere at this point.
Thank you. Anything else?
Let me just check my notes here. No.
Okay, thank you. I do, and I'm gonna back up, kind of back to the public hearing portion, but we did receive one written comment. You all should have had copies in that, and that will be placed in the file. And there were just the one,
Yes.
okay, we had just the one written copy, so please take note of that as well. Okay. Board discussion. Questions for Lance, questions for Mr. Yoder, opinions,
Well,
action, floor is yours.
why doesn't that community have, they're not a subdivision? You guys aren't one subdivision? It's never been made into a subdivision around the lake?
Not that property.
Okay.
It's not part of a plat.
No,
That's
no,
what I
it's
meant,
not,
yeah.
it's not, no,
Yeah. That's too bad.
never has been.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other thoughts?
And
Lance?
I would just comment too. I mean, my opinion is a legal opinion, based on your reading of the zoning ordinance as a township attorney. Certainly, the planning commission can draw its own conclusions looking at the same information. So, and I can answer any questions you have too.
Susie?
Just part of that, like, who's going to be delivering the trailers and bringing them? And that would be the restriction that we would put into, you can only come in this way and go out that way.
If we wished, we could condition it that, I would assume the obvious way in and out would be out Maiden Lane, API to 12.
Yeah.
Would be the most direct route out to the highway, in my mind. Chuck?
Yeah, my position on it is that, first of all, with respect to Mr. Yoder having bought the property already, and now asking for this grant of a special use permit, as opposed to not having bought the property, but maybe having contracted to buy the property with the understanding that he would need to get that improved before he went ahead and made the financial investment in the property. Puts me personally, in a hard position, because I'm a neighbor of all of you. I live in the township, have for 20-some years. And I wanna get along with everybody. And I understand some people that live in the area have no objection to it. And then I understand people that live in the area have an objection to it. But in reality, we have spent the taxpayers' money on constructing a zoning plan. And they're quite expensive to do, and they're done with a lot of thought going into them to make it a better community, to define where things go. And we run into things like this that have been there forever. And what do you do with them? Well, they've got a deal because they've been there. But now it's up to us to make a decision on whether or not we want to allow something else to be there that doesn't agree with the zoning plan or not. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here, and I understand Mr. Yoder's position too. So with that, I have a lot of things to think about, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
I would echo Chuck's comments on what I believe is the cart before the horse. On I wish Mr. Yoder would have had some agreement with Ron on his application and the approval of the application being contingent on everything going in his favor at this meeting. So that bothers me that it didn't happen that way, and it leaves now Mr. Yoder, I think, in a tough position if the decision is that we don't grant the application. Mr. Yoder, I guess another question I would have is, you've got 190,000 square feet of land area there, so 4 or 5 acres of land. What do you envision? Are you going to be cleaning up the area where the existing building is that Ron occupied and used around that area? Are you envisioning that you are going to clear cut the entire site, and it's going to take down any of the trees or the growth that might help to screen from the neighborhood, visually screen, at least in the summertime, in the fall and the spring, won't so much in the winter time. I drove by and you can see through, but what are your thoughts in that regard?
Well, my vision always would be to make it look better. I mean, to clean up, and I'm all about. I mean, I understand his concerns. I'm the last one to want something to look ugly and messy. I would definitely want to improve the aesthetics of it as much as I could, so.
Is there anybody else here at the meeting that lives directly across the street from the property in question, aside from John living close, kind of down this, on the corner, but
Travis is right next
oh,
door.
well, right next door to
Yeah.
the west, I get
Up
that.
the hill.
Pardon?
I'm across the street on the hill.
Oh, okay. You got a good view of that parcel of land? Okay.
I know as far as clear cut, no, I'd like to leave every tree on there I could. I mean, I like trees, I'm not planning on taking all the trees out.
Would you be opposed? You're gonna have 4 overhead doors fronting to the street?
No, I would put my overhead doors towards the back.
I was gonna ask, would you be opposed to doing that to the back side, which is the railroad track side?
I would put it to the back, for sure.
So that any parking activity, what have you, would take place on the back side. What's gonna go on with, any idea of what's gonna happen with Ike's property? And, because that's the same situation, right? With the non-conforming use. That's all the questions I have.
Okay. Anyone else? Does anyone have some suggestions then? Our choices are tonight, obviously, if we are in a conundrum and can't decide, we can table, but that's not fair to Mr. Yoder, obviously, because he needs an answer. And it pushes because we make a recommendation to the township board. Ultimately, the decision will be made at the township board level. So we can just say we would approve his application as is. We can approve it with conditions, or we can recommend that it be denied. And then for whatever our recommendation is, gets forwarded to the township board, and ultimately they will have the final decision. So.
Is there any way that he could put up a landscape around the whole property to beautify it? I mean, I don't know how much money Stan wants to put in that, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think, we are not, are there limits on what we can do as for conditions?
There are limits.
Okay.
Those are not black and white limits, but I could see a court saying you went too far in imposing limits, but certainly screening, either artificial or natural type,
Some sort of
evergreen trees
privacy.
and stuff like that, or berms with trees on them. That's all that is all a potential condition that you can impose on any special land use.
Okay. Any other thoughts on direction? I think we need a direction. Are we?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I would ask that you would call for a vote from the board to continue this, to not continue this, to not table this, to either approve or deny as a recommendation to go over to the township.
Okay, well, I wasn't planning on tabling, so. Do you have a motion?
Yep, I make a motion that we call for a vote to either,
Okay.
first vote to approve, second vote to deny.
All right, well, make a motion one way or the other.
You have to do it.
I
Okay.
recommend one way or the other.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we recommend to deny the petition.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. So the motion is to deny the petition as presented. Is there a support for that? Susie supports.
That means we're not moving forward, we're denying.
Yes.
You would be recommending to the township board that it deny the special land use permit.
Application, okay. Is everyone clear? So a yes vote supports the motion to deny. A no vote is the opposite. A no vote would be in favor of approving or at least continuing discussion about approval. Everyone clear? Any questions?
No.
Roll call vote, please.
Ford,
I guess.
DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Howell,
Yes.
Burton,
Yes.
and Jones, yes. So,
Okay.
that's
It's 5-0. The application we recommend to the township board to deny. Okay, thank you, everyone. You're more than welcome to stay. This ends the public hearing portion of this. We do have some more business, so if you wish to stay, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, flatly leave and we will